Hi everyone, and welcome to beginner's guitar lesson number 2. So the first thing we're going to do is look over some of the things we were looking at in beginner's guitar lesson number 1. So we were learning the letters of the string. So we had even a dog gets breakfast early, which is our letters E, B, G, D, A and E, strings 1 to 6. We had a look at some different parts of the guitar, and then we were looking at some basic chords. So the first chord we tried was a C chord, which was our finger number 1 on string number 2 in fret number 1. There we go. Let's hold that nice and close for you. And then we were strumming 3 strings, strings 3, 2 and 1. So our 4 fingers, there we go. Stay on the guitar here, and then we just strum strings 3, 2 and 1 to get our C chord, keeping our fingers doing like a circle. Okay, and then we're going to change to a G chord, which we did. So we had our 3rd finger on string 1, but in fret 3 this time, so we're matching the fret and the finger, and then this time we were strumming 4 strings. There we go. Okay, so this time, in this lesson, we're going to move on. We're going to do some other chords, and we're going to be playing up our guitar, which is what we're going to do now. We're going to be using our rest strokes or walking fingers, which we learned last time. So if I quickly do those, it looks like your fingers are walking, and we're just going to play string 1 like this, and our fingers are going to lean against string 2. So if we get those walking fingers going, there we go. Right, now we're going to use, in this hand, we're going to get our finger 1 and we're going to put it on string 1 and fret 1. So everything is number 1. And we're just going to play that one and see if we can get a really nice sounding note. We don't want a dead string where we're not pushing it down. We want a nice sounding note. So we'll play that one, fret 1, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take our finger off like this, and we're going to do an open string. Okay, so let's do those 2 again. We've got fret 1, and then open, and then the one after, we're going to use our 3rd finger, and we're going to go on fret 3 like this, and play that one. So it's the same place as our G chord, and then we're going to take that one off and play an open. So it goes 1, open, 3, open, 1, open, 3, open. So if you all have a go at that one, in these videos I'll kind of explain everything reasonably quickly, but you can always pause it and then have a go, and then practice these in your own time. So the 2 most important things that you've got to do is make sure you are using rest strokes in your right hand, so this one, and then also making sure that we're using fingers 1 and 3 because we're on frets 1 and 3. So finger 2, not doing an awful lot, finger 4, not doing a lot yet. And if you look when I play it, my thumb here, we can't see my thumb, it's behind the guitar and it's staying really still. It's just our fingers moving. Okay, so once you have got to grips with that one, what you can do is start moving it up the guitar using your dots, okay? I've got some nice dots on the front, but I've also got dots on the top. So all these do is help you count. So I've got a dot at 3, some guitars don't have 3, and then we've got 5, 7, 9 and 12. If you don't have dots, you could put some little stickers in those places. So now let's use those to count up the guitar. We're going to take our 2 fingers that we just used and go up to frets 3 and frets 5, okay? And we're going to do exactly the same thing. So same walking fingers, same fingers in this hand. So we're going to go 3, open, 5, open. it's exactly the same. We've just moved up the guitar. And then if you're okay with that one, we can get our hand and we can slide on up. So now we're starting at fret 5, 5, open, 7, open. Okay? So again, just practice these in your own time. Just have a little pause of this video. 5, open, 7, open. Right, let's try a couple more. Let's go 7 and 9. So I've got 2 dots at 7. Most of you will probably only have 1. So 7, open, 9, open, 7, open, 9, open. Let's go up to 9 and 11. So I've got 9, open, 11, open, 9, open, 11, open. Okay, and we'll stop there with those. So those ones started on all the dots of our guitar. They all sounded good, because it just happens to be notes that sound nice together. If I pick some other frets, I'm going to pick fret 6 and 8. Doesn't sound so pleasing, that one. So it won't work everywhere, and it will be a big clue if you're in the wrong frets, if it just sounds a bit dissonant like that, okay? So you can try it one at a time, going up, and then you can see if you can try and make a little tune with them. So, for example, we could go 1, open, 3, open, 3, open, 5, open, 5, open, 7, open, 7, open, 9, open, 9, open, 11, open. Okay? You don't need to do it fast, but you can experiment and see if you can make your own little pattern going up the first string on the guitar, using our frets to count, using beautiful rest strokes, and coordinating the right fingers, okay? So much harder than it looks, that one. So that's one of the big challenges this week. I'm just going to give you 2 bits of information that we'll be using in further lessons. So with your right hand, we have letters for our fingers on this one. Everything else on the guitar has numbers, so this one has letters. So your thumb is going to be letter P, because pulgar is Spanish for thumb. So we have pulgar, and then we have index finger, middle finger, and annular finger. This little pinky finger, we don't really use that when we pick. Okay, so we have pulgar, index, middle, annular, but that spells, if you just use the first letter, that spells Pima. P-I-M-A, okay? P-I-M-A. So in future guitar lessons, we're going to be picking with those different fingers. But at the moment, we're just using these 2, which are I and M. Okay, so you might see on some music written I-M, I-M, I-M underneath, and it's telling you which finger to play it with, okay? So that's the first bit of information. The second bit is about the musical alphabet, because we're going to be learning how to read these notes. So what you need to know is, what does the musical alphabet go up to? And it is G. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then the next one isn't H, it just goes back to the beginning, it goes A. So it's like a never-ending circle, a bit like a clock. When we get to, so at 12 o'clock, we just go back to 1 o'clock. So it's a bit like that with the musical alphabet. So it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Or you can obviously go backwards through those notes. And there are some sharps and flats, which you might have heard of, that go in between. But the only thing you really need to remember is that when we get to G, we go back to A. So G and A are next to each other. Right, we have got 2 chords for you today to practice as well. And these are much harder than the other ones, because we're not just going to be using one finger, we're going to be using multiple fingers. So let's move it closer for you, you're going to put finger number 1, and it's going to go on fret number 2, fret 2, but on string 3. So if you count up your strings, 1, 2, 3, put your first finger on it and make sure you're in fret 2. So you've got a gap here. This fret's got nothing in it at the beginning. Right, once that one's on, you're going to take your next finger, finger 2, and you're not going to put it on string 2, you're going to put it on string 1. So there's a gap in the middle. So we've got a bit of a gap going on there, and then your third finger is going to go on that string in the gap, which is string 2, but now we're in fret number 3. So just check that you've got 2 fingers in fret number 2 and then 1 finger in fret number 3. It looks a bit like a triangle. Okay, this is D chord, and then we're going to start strumming from D string, which is string number 4. Okay, so this chord is going to take you probably quite a while to make it sound like that, like nice and smooth. Okay, what you might be hearing lots of is this type of thing, those dead strings we were talking about last time. We've really got to push them on. And if I take my hand off, I mean, first of all, you can see it's in that circular pattern. It's in that kind of clamp position. If I hold my fingers up to the camera, can you see I've got those lines in my fingers where I'm pushing the note down? So not on the squishy bit. Make sure it's definitely on the end. And then we're going to try and strum 4 strings. So you're going to need to sort of maneuver your hand around a bit to get your fingers working nicely. Make sure if it looks like a circle when you take it off the guitar, that's what you're aiming for, because we're actually pushing half with our thumb and half with our fingers. So most people just push with their fingers and they'll have their thumb over the top like this. If I take this off the guitar, that is not a nice position for your hand to be in, and it means your fingers are doing all the pushing. Whereas if you bend your wrist so it's underneath the guitar, you can't even see my wrist in the camera, it's low down. And then we're using our thumb to do half the pushing, okay? So there's our D chord, and the other chord we're going to learn is an A7 chord. So to get this one, I'm going to show you the easy way. We're going to take off this 3rd finger, so that has disappeared, and then these 2 fingers here, we're going to jump them towards the ceiling, a string each. So now you've got your 1st finger on string 4 and your 2nd finger on string 2, okay? And then what we do in this one, it's an A7 chord. There's 7 just means there's a kind of a funky note in the chord, is we strum from our A string, which is string number 5. There we go. All right, bit tricky this one, because you can only touch 1 string. You've got a string in the middle that we don't want to touch, and it's really hard to put these on and not touch that one in the middle, or not touch string number 1 either. So these are going to be things that you're going to have to practice during your week to see if you can get those smooth. Okay? So the reason I picked these 2 is because of the changing. It's a good one to practice changing. So to go back to D, I'll get my fingers and I'll jump them towards the floor and then put that one back on. There's my D. And then I'm going to take that finger off and I'm going to jump them back towards the ceiling. And there's my first one. Okay, so there's A7. And then let's jump and add a finger back to D. And then we take that finger off, jump them back to A7. So a couple of tips is to keep these knuckles together and they jump as a pair. So I'm almost like just moving my wrist around to change those. And the other thing is to maybe keep this 3rd finger here kind of floating and ready to go. So here's my A7, and as I'm going back to D, it's already waiting. There we go. So when you're changing chord, whatever chord it is, we want to get there in the fastest way possible. So the worst thing you can do is to go, here's a D, right, I'm going to change to A7, take them all off, and then put them on one at a time. It's going to take forever. If I take those off and then go back to D, again, it's going to take a long time, and we don't really want to be doing that. We want to see if we can get there really efficiently. So I'm going to show you how I want you to practice this. So we're going to count to 4. We're going to do our strum on number 1, and then you're going to spend beats 2, 3, and 4 changing. So I'm giving you 3 beats to change, and then you'll strum the next chord on beat 1. So we're not only learning to change chords, but we're also learning about trying to keep it in time. So I'm going to put on my D chords. So strings 3, string 1, string 2, and I'm going to count myself in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to strum 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, and then use these ones to change your chord. 1, if you stop it, and then you can change chord, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can count yourself in at whatever speed you can do it at. If you need to do slower, great. If you need to do faster, no problem. But when you start getting it quick, give yourself less beats to change. So what I was doing 1, I was stopping it on 2, and then I was using those ones to change. But if you can do it a bit quicker, you could change on 3. You could go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you could go and see if you can leave it some more on before you change. So you might be change on beat 4. 1, 2, 3, change. 1, 2, 3, change. Okay? So what I'm doing when I'm changing is I'm actually stopping it just before, so we don't get this sound. So when you change it, you hear a sound. And if you've got a small acoustic or classical guitar, it's not going to be a big deal because it's really quiet. But if you've got electric guitar and it's plugged in really loud, those changing, all these sounds we can make on the guitar are absolutely enormous, and we don't want them. So it's trying to get some nice, smooth changing. You could also try that with a metronome as well. Okay, so there's your practice for this week. So we've got things going up the guitar. We've got a nice rest strokes, and we've got using these frets, and then we're going to see if we can change between D and A7. And also, if you get that, you can try and chuck in the ones from the other lesson. So we had a C chord and we had a G chord. Okay, you could try, here's a D and here's a G. That's quite simple, isn't it? We just move one finger and take the other ones off. So you've now got 4 chords that you can change around. And then in the next lesson, we're going to see if we can do some really super simple songs with those chords. Okay? So, good luck, and I will see you in lesson number 3.